Welcome to 10-Minute Health Tech, the AI-powered podcast, where we dive into healthcare technologies and companies so you don't have to. Today, we're going deep on Rune Labs and their work in precision neurology, especially their focus on Parkinson's disease. Joining me is Julia, our expert guide for this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Rune Labs is doing some really interesting work.
Yeah.
So for someone who hasn't heard of them, what exactly is Rune Labs all about?
They're a software and data analytics company,
Yeah.
but their real focus is on using data to transform how we understand and treat neurological conditions. Their big goal is to help develop therapies that can actually modify the course of diseases like Parkinson's, instead of just managing the symptoms.
That's a big goal. How are they approaching this with Parkinson's specifically? I know they have a product called Strive PD, right?
Yeah, Strive PD is their core product, and it's designed to create a more connected and data-driven care ecosystem for both patients and clinicians.
Okay, but what does that actually mean in practice? What's so special about Strive PD?
One of the most interesting things about it is that it uses the Apple Watch to collect real-time data about a patient's symptoms.
With the Apple Watch? That's pretty cool. How does that even work?
It leverages the sensors in the Apple Watch to track things like tremors and movement patterns, which are key symptoms of Parkinson's. This data is then analyzed by Rune Labs platform,
Okay.
which uses sophisticated algorithms to identify patterns and provide insights that can help doctors personalize treatment plans.
So instead of relying solely on what a patient describes during a brief office visit, doctors can get a much more continuous and objective picture of how the disease is affecting them throughout the day.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of symptom management. This data can help doctors adjust medication dosages more effectively and even anticipate potential issues before they become serious. It's all about making treatment more proactive and tailored to the individual patient.
That makes a lot of sense. And what about for the patients themselves? How does Strive PD benefit them?
Aside from the potential for more effective treatment, it also empowers patients to take a more active role in managing their own health. They can track their symptoms, medication adherence, and even connect with relevant clinical trials through the platform. It gives them a sense of ownership over their health journey.
So it's not just about data for data's sake. It's about using that data to improve lives in a tangible way.
Right.
I'm really interested in this connection to clinical trials. How does Strive PD actually help with that?
Well, one of the biggest challenges in drug development is recruiting the right patients for clinical trials.
Yeah.
Strive PD can help identify patients who meet specific criteria based on their real-world data, making the recruitment process much more efficient and targeted.
That's really clever. So it's a win for researchers and patients alike. It sounds like Strive PD, a pretty comprehensive solution for Parkinson's care, but I understand Rune Labs isn't stopping there, right?
You're absolutely right. They're applying their expertise and technology to a range of other neurological conditions, too.
That's what I wanted to get into next. So what else is on their radar?
They're branching out into multiple sclerosis, OCD, and essential tremor.
Wow.
Each of these presents unique challenges, but the underlying approach is the same. Use data to get a clearer picture of the disease and how it affects individuals.
Can you give us an example of how this works for one of those conditions, say multiple sclerosis?
Sure. In MS, one of the key areas of focus is understanding the progression of lesions in the brain.
Okay.
Rune Labs is doing research to identify what are called quantitative biomarkers for these lesions.
Okay, so for someone like me who doesn't have a medical degree, what exactly does that mean?
Essentially, these biomarkers are measurable indicators that can be seen in brain scans. They can tell us things like the size and activity level of MS lesions, which gives doctors a much more precise way to track the progression of the disease.
So instead of just knowing that lesions are present, doctors can actually see how they're changing over time and use that information to tailor treatment.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond a one-size-fits-all approach to treatment and towards a more personalized and data-driven model.
That makes a lot of sense. And what about OCD? How does Rune Labs technology apply to that?
With OCD, a lot of the focus is on understanding the triggers and patterns associated with the condition.
Right.
Rune Labs platform can capture data from wearables and other sources to track things like heart rate variability, sleep patterns, and even movement patterns, which can all be related to OCD symptoms.
So it's about looking for subtle clues in a person's everyday life. That might reveal something about how their OCD is manifesting.
Yes, and by gathering this kind of data over time, researchers and clinicians can start to build a much more detailed picture of how OCD affects individuals, which can lead to more targeted and effective therapies.
It's amazing to think about how much information we can glean from these everyday devices and how that information can be used to transform healthcare.
It really is. And it's important to note that Rune Labs is very conscious of the ethical considerations around data privacy and security.
Right.
They're committed to using this data responsibly and transparently, with the patient's best interests at heart.
That's reassuring to hear. So we've talked about how Rune Labs is working to improve the lives of patients, but what about the bigger picture? What kind of impact could their work have on the field of neurology as a whole?
Their work could be a real game changer. By using data to understand diseases like Parkinson's, MS, and OCD at a much deeper level, we can move closer to the goal of developing therapies that can actually modify the course of these diseases, not just manage the symptoms. That's the holy grail of neurological research.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a real paradigm shift in neurology, and Rune Labs is right at the forefront of that shift.
I think that's a fair assessment. Their data-driven approach has the potential to revolutionize how we diagnose, treat, and ultimately understand neurological conditions.
Julia, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of Rune Labs. Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
It's been my pleasure.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities. What does this kind of progress mean for someone listening right now? Maybe someone who's living with a neurological condition or knows someone who is.
It means there's hope. For patients, it means having more tools and resources to manage their health proactively and participate in the search for better treatments. And for their loved ones, it means knowing that there are companies like Rune Labs working tirelessly to find solutions and improve lives.
That's a powerful message. It feels like for a long time, neurological conditions have been shrouded in mystery, and there hasn't been a lot of reason for optimism. But Rune Labs' approach seems to be changing that.
Definitely. By shining a light on the data, they're helping to demystify these conditions and empower both patients and clinicians. And with that empowerment comes a sense of hope and possibility.
Absolutely. It's like they're saying, let's use technology not just to manage these conditions, but to understand them, to unravel their complexities, and ultimately to find ways to cure them.
Precisely. And that's a message worth spreading.
Well said. Julia, thanks again for taking us on this deep dive into Rune Labs. It's been incredibly enlightening.
It's been my pleasure.
Thanks for spending 10 minutes with us, and be sure to look for more 10-minute health tech podcasts.
Bye.
Bye.